One. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I want to welcome you to our Wednesday morning class, coming to you from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was just counting up all the countries that join us here at HeartLight, and all the states, I meant, and country that tune in to us. So we want to welcome you through streaming this morning, wherever you are, that you open your hearts and your minds to the teachings that we are going to present to you today. And we're just glad for you that are here in person. Thank you for coming and being a part of this. I guess you can perceive it as a challenging information. It definitely has taken us to another level of teaching here that may be, for some of us, including myself, challenging a lot of my intellectual stability to learn new things. We tend to do better with teachings that basically connect us to already neurons in the brain that have already been patterned into words and concepts that we've already heard before. That's easy, but when you start hearing things you've never heard before, the purpose of that is to expand our minds, our consciousness, by creating new patterns of neurons in the brain. So we're doing that. The class continues to talk about the dimensions, and we'll do our best to make this as easy and as simple as I can with you. Hey, Tom. Good to see you. We send a lot of love to Tom. He just lost his wife the last few days. Nancy has made her transition. So we are sending strength and love to them and to the family and all the family today. We're glad to see you today. This is the best place for you to be. People who love you and where the Spirit is. So, I've always been interested in this idea of dimensions for a long time. It's not a new subject. It's just the research on it is taking me down, I guess you can call it a rabbit hole, into much deeper concepts and ideas. Plus, we're not talking about dimensions that are basically linear. We all get that. We get that B follows A, C follows B, 2 follows 1, 3 follows 2. We get this linear idea of things that versus other things. But as we've talked here in HeartLight so many times before, that we're at that point. I don't know what that point's called. I use the idea of the cross of the linear and the vertical. That we have walked this linear line, and now we're at a place, a crossroads of some kind, in which a conjuncture in which we are now have an opportunity to go vertical. Now, not everybody's going to do that, and those who don't will continue in the linear, right? They will go all the way into the linear. But there is enough, I believe, souls contracted at this time to choose the vertical over the linear, that it will shift, and we'll have a global shift at some point if we continue to step up and be that critical mass. The 144,000, the Bible calls it, the 144,000. What does the 144,000 mean to you? What do you remember of that teaching?
They were the only ones that were going to be saved, right?
Well, that's pretty fundamental Christian.
Well, that's because
it's very Jehovah's Witness.
Mark's husband was talking about that in the Revelation.
Yeah. Well,
that's what she thought.
Yeah, that's what she thought. Yeah, I mean, all these that you're going to read are certain levels of things like that. The 144,000 learned a song that no man could learn. So it's not, you don't attain it by attaining a certain level of knowledge to be 144,000. It's about the end of a cycle. A cycle. And we know that everything, if you really want to understand the hidden language of symbolism, you have to be able to be willing to go to the math. To the math. And there's nothing that have been the worst of in my life is math. I made really good grades in school, but not math. Just hated math. I'm watching my grandson go through the same thing that I did. It's kind of interesting how that works. But I absolutely did not do well in math. Well, I didn't know back in those days, we called it dyslexia. Never heard the word, nobody tested us for it, and we just thought we were stupid because we could not put numbers and things into order. But I'm going to tell you, it's really a spiritual gift. Because the fact that I could not put them into linear order made me more candidate for the vertical. Are you with me? Because I could see things in different combinations. That makes sense to you? In other words, everybody was seeing the dynamics of algebra or math and the law behind it, how to do it. But I saw it in a different combination. And I believe with all my heart, Jack, that those combinations were codes. Ooh, felt that. There are codes that was opening up aspects of my contracts and agreements that was being opened at a very early age. That's why I started doing this at 15, 16 years old. And started preaching and teaching differently than my family and my culture because of the fact of seeing these numbers in different sequences that were actually mystical codes that was coded in my soul begin to activate and release in me certain information and knowledge that just started pouring out of me. I hope that makes some sense to you. So I kind of saw things a little bit backwards. And I think when you look through the mirror of illusion, that things are backwards. Yep. If I stand in front of a mirror and I part my hair on the right, it's going to look left. The thing is, I'm not that image in the mirror. I'm the one looking in the mirror. All right, and the mirror there can represent illusion. But anyway, I guess enough of that. So I think this idea of the dimensions are important because I don't think something that is infinite, you call it God, source, whatever you call it, is infinite, right? I mean, everybody kind of believes that. Even Christians buy into this term omnipresent. What does omnipresent mean? What's omni? Everywhere. So we believe in something that is, but they really don't because they believe there's room for the devil and there's room for everything. And they don't believe that this thing called God is everywhere. If they did, they'd realize that there was only one power, one truth, one spirit. And that spirit takes many different forms of whatever is needed for the evolution of human consciousness. So it can take on the form of your adversary. Sometimes you need an adversary. And of course, they took that word and made it Satan. The Kabbalah people call it Satan. Not Satan, it's Satan, which is, and the very simple way that I can get you to understand that is go to the gym. I remember the days when we went to the gym. I still haven't gone back. I missed the gym. But I like to go to the gym. But I went to the gym for the fact that I went for to use the adversary. The adversary being weights. Right? Why would I want to use the adversary, weights? Resistance. Because it strengthened my body and my muscles. So Satan can be the resistance of your life for the purpose of strengthening you. But that's still God. God doesn't stop here and the devil over here. Even God can be your adversary when it is necessary to begin to strengthen you in your faith. So, if we're dealing with something that is infinite, which we've talked about a lot since I've been here, and I've shared my definition, which I'm going to do again, so get ready. God is a non-local, undefinable consciousness interacting with itself. Say it again. God is a non-local. How are you going to locate it if it's everywhere? It's beyond space-time. It is everywhere. It's infinite. Has no beginning, has no end. Right? It is an undefinable, non-local consciousness interacting with itself. Now, the word itself is real important there because that's where you come in. Now, not you, these bodies that are sitting here, but you, the authentic you, the spiritual you, the essence you, the substance you. Are you with me? You are the it for it to have interaction with itself. Wow. If you could get that, you'd understand why in the world there was ever creation in the first place was for the purpose of relationship. Something infinite wanted to have relationship with itself through something that was finite. So it made itself finite by putting itself and using frequency and vibration to give it its different dimensions. Got it? You can't put something infinite in one dimension. The real truth, which is hard to grasp, is that dimensions are infinite themselves. To hold that which is infinite, it takes an infinite amount of dimensions, or what we call now multiverses. That's the new teaching that is the contribution of quantum thinking, is that they do believe at this point that there is an infinite amount of universes out there. Now we say here, the universe said to me, the universe said to me. That's fine if you're only using it in the context of one dimension or so. But don't use it in the context that you're talking about a universe that is infinite. Universes are not infinite. You know, this is why you live in a time of science and proving. I mean, people didn't even know what the universe and how big it was until now. Now we have the telescopes and the technology that we're seeing the beginning of the universe. They have actually seen the horizon of the universe when it happened, when the Big Bang happened, or creation, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the same thing. But that's just one universe, and that's vast. That's beyond our comprehension to think of what 300 billion stars and planets and all. I mean, it just gets crazy with numbers. Why? Because it's representing something beyond numbers, which is infinite. Are you with me? So now they're saying, well, that which is infinite can't be held in one universe, and no matter how big it is, has a beginning and has an end. So it says, I'm going to make multi-infinite universes. Now, when we bring that in from the macrocosm into the microcosm, we're the duplicate of that. That means in us, we have infinite amounts of dimensions that we're available to. But because we are, how do I say this? Because of the fact that we're still walking in the limitation of third-dimensional human consciousness, we cannot comprehend infinite universes. So therefore, we're given so many of them in a lifetime, in a cycle of lifetimes. That makes sense to you? Because you can't get it in one lifetime either. Forget that. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. That's the craziest thing I ever heard, that you're going to come down here for 60, 70, 80 years and get it all. The fact you sit here listening to me is not because you've been on this earth 70, 80 years. You may have been here about 80, 70,000 times to get to sit right here in that chair where you are. I don't know, but I'm saying something got you here where it didn't get others here because they have less lifetimes. Woo, did you get that? And you can try to get your family to believe this, and you can try to do everything you can because you want validation. You want them to validate you and love you, but you're not going to do it until they've lived enough lifetimes to bring their consciousness to a level to receive this level of truth. Amen. That's why you have to let people be. They're in the universe that they're in until they're not. And you can't make them. You can't convert them. You can't scare them with fear. If you don't believe like I am, you're going to miss it. We know better than that. I know we do. I'm just reminding us of that kind of thing. So, in this case, about all that we can deal with to complete this cycle is 9 dimensions. Maybe more. I mean, there's a lot of numbers out there. You got 12, you got whatever. But 9 is what I'm zeroing in on. And trust me, let's just try to get these 9 before we go to 12 and 144 and all that kind of thing. So back to the 144,000, going back to find out what that means, the math, because it's a linear number, you have to use the law of Pythagorean or numerology. So 144,000 is what? 1 plus 4, 5, plus 4, 9. What is 9? Completion. And how do we know that? Using numerology, using the numbers. How do we know that 9 is complete? If I go to 10, still using the idea of breaking down everything to a single number, what would be 10? 1 plus 0 is 1. 11, a master number, by the way, is 2. 12 is 13. So you never go beyond 9. You're complete. Everybody there? That's when people do your numerology and find your path number and all of that, what they're doing is they're taking your name and like D, David, would be a 4 because A, B, C, D is a 4th number, and you find out your path number. So whether you know it or not or accept it, you're every day influenced by your numbers. The Bible even gives an interesting scripture. I don't know what it means, but it says, and even God has numbered the hairs on your head. Do you know that's in the Bible? For God has numbered the hairs on your head. And that's just, and one out of every verse in the Bible contains a number or about a number, including the numbers of verses and chapters. And in them are the codings. That's why Mozart, Beethoven, and all the great classics and all the great teachers were taught in the mystery schools how to use these numbers as codes to put into their music that made them tremendously successful. And that's going to be our next class. It may be next year, but we're going to learn the Fibonacci sequence.
We're going to play the piano?
No, Fibonacci is a series of numbers and math that would bring us in total proportion to the fullness of the success of our life. Anyway, let's not go there. Let's get there. So what I'm saying to you is we're dealing with these 9 frequencies, 9 dimensions. And I want to go on, but I'm being pulled back to 1D, dimension 1. And I feel that is because 1D holds all the vibrations of the 9 vibrations within itself. Just as the first chakra, your root chakra, holds all the vibrations of the other chakras. In solfeggio, our tuning forks and frequencies, the first fork that represents the The root is called the Ut, as you know, UT, Ut Quint Laxus. And that frequency, 396, holds the frequency of all the other ones going this way. So how are you going to understand going this way if you don't understand the fundamental root? And that's why we got to stay on 1D for a while to really be able to understand 2D, 3D, 4D, and we want to get to 5D. That's what we're trying to get to as soon as we can here to understand that. All right. All dimensions of the earth share and are sourced in 1D, Gaia. Western science does not conceive this vertical axis. And therefore they do not understand the structure from the center of the earth to the galactic center. When you understand the center or core of the earth, of Gaia, Mother Gaia, then you can, for the first time, understand what we mean when we say, let's go to the core of ourself. I hear that a lot. Core issues. I mean, he's heard that. People have core issues. So the core issues in us are connected to the 1D of the earth because we are the children of Mother Earth. This is a different spirituality we're talking about now because it's not the mystical spirituality. It is the organic spirituality of nature. Are you with me? Because all spirituality has been made very mystical and out there, and it's not. It's very organic. It's very visceral. So the center of our earth, and we are the earth, connects to the center of the galaxy in which we are in. And I'm trying not to get too heavy here, but that's called, and it's called in the discovery of the black hole of the galaxy. This raises us to a status of galactic beings. Right now, we are starseed beings. You have earth beings who are the seeded from the earth itself. Then you have those who came to the earth from the star constellations. Ooh, that just too much? I have always had this thing about Pleiades. And a lot of this is channeled Pleiades information. I've always, first time I read a book was a channel book in the 80s about the Pleiadians, and I just had that, what I call the baby leaped in me. And then I looked it up and didn't even know it's in the Bible. In the book of Job, it talks about Orion, the star constellation, and Pleiades. And I somehow connected that that's my star planet, my star dimension. If you don't like planets, then put it into dimensions. But I came. I think I'm going to take this time to do this, although I would like to move on. But sometimes I don't get to do what I want to do, David, but as Spirit wants to do. But I want to share again with you this. I want to give you as much experience as I do knowledge. Many years ago, at a certain place that I was in and where I was meditating and praying, I was told, that sounds so crazy, I was told I was inspired, let's say, 3 things, and that was to take the literalism of the first few verses of the book of Genesis in the Bible and translate that from English into the Hebrew, and then look up the English translation of the words in Hebrew and take those words and look up in the dictionary. Now, who would have thought of such a thing? Come on, that does not come from your human mind. Let me say it again. I was told, take the words, like in the beginning God. Okay, that's how it starts, right? In the beginning, God. And I started with beginning, and it didn't say in the beginning, it said in the beginnings. I thought, is there more than one beginning? Because I thought that's it. Christians believe that it began right there in the Garden of Eden and man being made of the dust of the earth. That was the beginning. No, it was a beginning. It was the beginning of a new evolutionary dimension being formed. So what? Okay. How do I stay with this? So I looked that up. Then I looked up in the beginning God. And I thought, oh, God. So I looked up God. There's no word for God. There's no word for God, even in the Hebrew. God is kind of a made-up word as it came into English through the influence of the German language. And the only word that they could come up with was the word gut for good. God the good. Gut. Now, gut was just too German and Gruttel for us in English, so we softened it to God. No such word. I couldn't find the definition, but I did find it in the Hebrew to be Elohim. Interesting word. So what does that mean? So I'm thinking God, Jehovah, the one God of Israel is Elohim. But it didn't say that. It said Elohim was, first of all, gods, little G-O-D-S, plural, male and female. I thought, my goodness, God is a group of beings that came down out of the sky or heaven. That's why we all the time look up to God, because that's where we think God all came from. He's up in there somewhere in heaven somewhere, so we tend to look up at God rather than within. Because as long as the ego can have you looking up, you can run into all kinds of crazy stuff. You're not watching where you're going. So I thought this is a group. And they come here, and Adam is already here. Here comes Elohim. Elohim comes down to the Adamic seed. And, oh my God, I've talked about that so many times that Adam is not a proper name of some naked man running around in a garden with a woman who's being seduced by the serpent to have him eat an apple. That's the most ridiculous story I've ever heard. That is just total babes in Christ stories. No. Adam is transliterated. Can anybody tell me the difference in translate and transliterated? No? No, Tim, you don't count.
Tim don't count.
Now, I ask these questions because I know I've covered these things so many times. To translate from one language to another or to transliterate from one language to another, what is the difference?
Writing. If you translate something, it's definition. If you transliterate, it's transliterate, isn't it, the way it's written?
Close. That's good. Translate would be, okay, I don't know Spanish, but I know casa means house. So if I had the word house and I want to translate it into Spanish, I would have an equal word in the Spanish language that would equal the word in the English. Well, Adam is not translated, but it's transliterated from the Hebrew word Adam. A, aleph, dam, blood. Or red man, actually it says. It's still used in modern Yiddish and Jewish. If you went in to buy some red lipstick, you'd have the word Adamah, Dam. It would be in there somewhere because it represents red. So get this. Adam becomes old Adam. Hear the transliterated? In other words, the second language is a made-up word like the first language, but it's not translated. It's transliterated. Does that make sense to you? So Adam does not mean a one person, but it means the entire story of a bloodline of people who come from the earth. They are earth seed. So you have star seed coming to earth seed. Oh, I didn't mean to get in this today. Oh. You get it? Elohim comes down. Okay? Comes down to earth seed, to Adam race. Now the power of this that I'm telling you is in the fact of the uniqueness of a little planet in the boondocks of a galaxy, the Milky Way, called Earth. Earth is, you think of all the planets we know now and all the solar systems and the galaxies is beyond our comprehension. And to think this little planet's not the biggest, not the smallest, not the closest, not the furthest. It's just positioned so uniquely in the Milky Way for a purpose and a reason. And I don't have time to get into that full reason. I'll be glad to do it with you sometime. But there's a reason why the Creator wanted a planet for free will. You truly cannot grow if you're totally programmed and predestined. You are here with the power of choice. That's why we have so much diversity on this planet, is people are choosing to be who and where they want to be by the choices they've made. And that's why, and I'll use the term God for language purpose, but that's why God would have given us something called the Holy Spirit, the aspect of the divine, for the purpose of making a different choice. What's the line in the Course in Miracles we love so much? Choose again. Choose again. So you can choose to follow your own path and suffer the consequences of those choices, or you can choose your divine purpose for why that you incarnated here in the first place. But it's a choice. You're not made to do either. It is in the power of choice. I can only speak for myself. You can look at your life, but at some point you made a choice to get into this new thought, metaphysical stuff that you knew you was going to be misunderstood by your family and friends and most of culture itself. You made a choice to do it. Now, maybe your choice was based on a contract that you made, but you still activated the contract by the choice that you made. For we've all made a choice to walk not only the path less traveled, but some of us have made the choice to go into the woods and make a path where there wasn't one. So, the Elohims, if you study their, and I went into the dictionary, I did the whole thing, gods, little G-O-D-S, gods, okay? So we're not talking about a monotheistic national God. Oh my God, this is why nationalism is sticking up its head again, is because the beginning of God is a national God over a people, Israel, who is not the God of the Gentiles in the beginning, was not. The Bible is clear. It was the God, Jehovah is the God of Israel only. The fact that we made that God universal to everybody is much later in the translations, that we borrowed Yahweh and made him become the Father of Jesus, who became then the God of everybody. But Yahweh is not the God of Jesus, or the Father of Jesus. Can anybody even remember who was the Father of Jesus? Huh? Close. It is, yeah. El Elyon. Elyon was who fathered the Christ into the third dimensional human story 2,000 years ago. And you know what Jesus said of them who were following the God of Israel? You're of your father, the devil, and you do not know what you worship. That's clear. That's just in the Bible. My Father seeks you to worship in spirit and truth. My Father. You're in the wrong Father. Remember my message? Who's your daddy? Yahweh. Who came upon Mary? El Elyon. Now the word El Elyon is not there, but it means in Hebrew, the Most High. And the Most High overshadowed her, and she conceived and brought forth. Not Yahweh was not the father of the Christ. El Elyon is the father of the Christ, which happens to be the God of a Melchizedek order of endless life, without mother, without father, and without beginning and endings of days. And that's what you truly are. You are the Christ of no beginning and no ending and no birth and no death. You are the eternal, individualized manifestation of the one true one, incarnated into the third dimensional story. And that story is coming to an end because you're entering into a 9 vibration of all your incarnations in third dimension. And the only way is up. I wish we could settle this thing with Russia and Ukraine and all of this. I wish we could just sit down and talk it over. Are you kidding me? How's that working? I heard today they've decided not to talk. They're not going to have any kind of conversation about it. They're not getting anywhere with it because the answer is not in the 3D dimension. It is going to be in the higher dimension. And that's what all this is trying to push everybody to. Not to look over into another time, but to look up into another dimension. So I looked up the Elohims and all this kind of things, and it was gods, little g O-D-S. And all this is kind of in the Bible if they just read it. John 10 says, according to the translation of Jesus, do you not know that as your law has said, you are gods? Little G-O-D-S. Have you forgot that you are Elohims? You've forgotten it. Psalms 86, I think it is. Know ye not you are gods? Why do you lay down and die like the princes of this world? Why do you act like 3D people when you are higher frequency people? No wonder you're not happy. No wonder nothing in 3D satisfies you. No wonder you can't find your utopia. No wonder you can't find your complete wholeness and whatever in 3D, because that's not your assigned vibration. And I do get fired up on this. And that's why Jesus came along, had a message to 3D people from a 5D level and said, I'll tell you what, for you that want to, you can know me in my resurrection. What do you think he was talking about? You can raise your vibration to match the vibration of that which I've attained to, and we can become a Christed community in the world. For the whole world groaneth for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. And that's why vibration has become so popular in the last few decades. All of a sudden, everybody started going to bowls and bells and tuning forks and chanting and all those kind of things. You're going to learn that this is all 2D stuff, which is what the Native Americans were connected to. That part of the earth where the crystals were and all the minerals and things of the earth. They understood how to pull 2D. We'll get to that in a minute. I ain't got to 1D yet, have I? I'm still in the basement. But I just thank you for letting me share. This is the message that I've been given. I just need to share it once in a while. So here comes the Elohims. The Elohims, if you look it up, means representatives, magistrates. So that means, okay, how do I say this? Let's go back to the idea of the divine as infinite, okay? So the infinite who wanted to manifest itself and have relationship with itself begin to change its vibration into using vibration to slow it down so it could become more dense to the point that it could start manifesting itself. So the first place that it manifests itself is as a number of infinite universes. So the universes is the first step down out of the infinite, and the infinite becomes universes which have beginnings and ends. Then it steps itself down to the galactic level, which is more dense than the universe, and it becomes these hundreds of billions or whatever it is, galaxies. And then the galaxies step down to become solar systems, and then it steps itself down to planets. At that point, God began to be accessed at the planetary level. And it doesn't stop there. He slowed it down so much to become you. The incarnation of you, the third dimensional self. So look at it. From infinite, with no boundaries and beginnings, to multiple universes with beginnings, galaxies, solar plexus, planetaries, and what is man that God is so mindful? That's a great thing in the Bible. What is man that God is so mindful of him? That's what the Bible asks. Mankind, includes you ladies too. What is man that God is so mindful? And it never answers it, but I'll answer it. It was man is itself. At such a low density. Just think, you've come all the way from the infinite. In you is the universes. In you are the galaxies. In you are the solar plexus. In you are the planetary. But he put you on this planet and made it a free will zone. I read an author who said the Earth is the hottest piece of real estate in the galaxy. And people want to get in here, and they'll take any kind of body to get in here, even a handicapped body. Because it's free will, and you can drive faster on Earth than anywhere else. Everybody will do it, but you can do it faster here because of free will choice.
It's the only planet that has that?
Maybe not. Probably not. And that's what they're dealing with now, is how many Earths are actually out there. But this is the one that we know called Gaia. I said all of that to try to bring you to 1D because I wanted to bring you to the core. Let's start from the core. I imagine if you take physical therapy or you do exercises, they're going to say, you need to strengthen your core. They'll strengthen your back. Everything is the core right here. And out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. He spake of the Spirit. Out of your belly, out of your solar plex. So, we started talking about 1D. Qualities of the core of the earth is an iron core crystal. Was discovered by a tomographic analysis after the 1994 Bolivian earthquake. That's when we discovered the iron core was there in the earth. For example, the texture of the huge crystal probably explains many of the mysteries of the earth's magnetic fields.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Through the seismic waves traveling through the center go faster from north and south than they do from east and west. I thought that was a statement is interesting because your growth is going to be much more faster going with the dimensions than going across them. Pressures in the center are 3 million times greater than on the surface of the earth. And the iron is solid in spite of the temperature in excess of 7,000 Fahrenheit. Only the final crystalline form, iron, which is made of hexagonal crystals, hexagonal six-sided. How many of you know that the most of the universe is made out of carbon atoms, right? Which are six-sided. Water. Mm-hmm. All have six-sided. That's why we have six solfeggio tuning forks. The power of six is amazingly an important number in the things. One scientist suggests the core is like a huge diamond in the center of the earth. The spin power of the 4-degree tilt of the whole earth. The earth tilts about 4 degrees of tilt of the whole earth's magnetic field is the kind of energy, I like this, that could generate multi-dimensional planes or dimensions. There's why you have dimensions, because this huge core of an iron center, which is spinning and putting out something we call gravity. Gravity is what holds all third-dimensional matter together. Gravity. So, I'm going to say it again. Because of the tilt, in other words, the whole earth produces the spin of magnetic fields that produces a powerful enough energy that could not be held in one dimension but generate multi-dimensional planes all the way into the galactic center. So if we can learn how to connect our core with galactic center, we would be totally in full alignment. We have to look at the galactic center pulses in a resonance with Earth, the black hole to the energy that streams from our sun. There's all connections with all these bodies, which would represent to us, bring it down to where we live, to our first chakra, 1D. So the information of 1D is held into the first chakra and overlaps into 2D, 3D, which is our sexual sacral chakras. That's why we keep going back to those first 3 chakras over and over and over again, because we all want to get to the heart and we want to get all this spiritual mystical stuff, but we don't have the foundation fully laid. We're not one with the foundation. 1D, like any center in the universe, includes DNA. Therefore, the spin of DNA, the double helix, is in sequence with the spin of the core of the earth. The center can be connected to and entered by offering the right prayers. Earth Center is the ultimate sacred realm, since it is the source of all forms that have existed in 2D on the surface, and 3D includes the atmosphere which supports life on Earth. So when you get to 3D, you're going to see when humans show up. and the human are the result of what happened in 1D and 2D. Because of the spin, because of gravity, things are starting to come together into a pattern. Then the pattern steps up by forming itself by using minerals, crystals, and all of the natural things of the crust of the earth as we move from core to the outer crust of the earth. And then on the earth shows up the pattern of 3D humans. That's how we kind of got there in that sense. So, according to this information, we are entering into a time of activation. Now, as you all know, back in 1988 and 89, when I was coming to Charlotte to Unity and teaching, is when I started doing DNA activation work in 1988. Unity of Charlotte was the first place that opened up to me to do those workshops. So I'll always honor that space being given to me. Thank you, Nancy Ennis. Whether she's in the background or the foreground, she was on my side and was very open to allow me to express myself as I chose to do it beyond even Unity teachings. So I have a great admiration and appreciation for that. So I started doing DNA activation because I knew activation was going to be an important part of what's going to happen. So during activation, participants are located in 3D by the medicine laws. Oh, this is really cool. By the medicine laws. What are the medicine laws? Which are the indigenous way of understanding the natural laws of Earth. The center, the core, participants are taught to orient themselves in the 4 directions of the east, west, south, and north. Who does that? Native Americans. We've done it right over there. Remember when we did the activating of the north, the south, the east, and the west? They are the true people who understand Dimension 1 and Dimension 2 and 3. For this is the only way anyone can enter into, really, the earth. Oh, my time's on. Entrance down into Gaia exists in the center of the 4 directionals. So when you do the east, west, and south, the very center is the entrance into your reconnection to the heart and vibration of the earth, which is 40 hertz. 40 hertz, or what we call gamma, or I think that's called alpha, Tim?
40 hertz is gamma.
Yeah. So we have tuning forks that does...
They're also using it to 40 hertz to work on Alzheimer's.
Yes. So much is coming from 40 hertz right now to doing a lot of wonderful work, and I think it's because of our connection to the core and the spin of the earth. And when we align with that, the body begins to go back into alignment. We call that a healing. So this is a new frontier that we need to look at. How do we find, if we have symptoms, if we have a labeled disease or something like that, how do we find the counterpart frequency in nature or into the world and align ourselves to it? And at that moment, we are repatterned back to wholeness, or a healing takes place. We're trying to do these things out of alignment, and it's not working. We're trying to heal our cancer, we're trying to heal this, and trying to heal that, and we're not even in line with the natural frequencies of the earth and of nature and how things spin and all that goes on. And I think that's the frontier that we'll be going to as we move further into this that I'm introducing to you at this time. So entrance down into Gaia, or core, exists in the 4-directional, which alters and is the place where vertical axis emerges into a specific location, which I call point 0. That's the point of the still point, when everything. So let's say you got a disease and you got a regenerative disease and it's going this way and you're regenerating and you're regenerating and you're regenerating, and all of a sudden you align yourself with the center and the core of zero, in which the degeneration stops at zero, and at that point you can restart. But you can't pile it on and say, okay, I'm sick and I need to make myself well. If that works for you, bless you. And I'm not saying it does in some cases for some people, but people are still struggling with this idea of healing and health and that kind of thing, because I don't think they understand that you can't heal an illusion. You undo the illusion. And then you recalculate. What's the word I want? Imagine? No. You recalculate your frequency and vibration with core, 0.0, and then degeneration becomes regeneration from 0.0. Be still and know. I know it's a lot, but I'm talking to your spirits. I'm talking to parts of yourself that's getting more than you think you're getting. Trust me. We discovered that the core crystal is always emitting images, symbols, colors, forms, and being coded sounds. A lot of people are having what they call the ear thing. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that cannot be a physical issue in which something is going on and that should be taken care of. I'm totally for go to the doctors, try to find the right doctor, go find out what you can find out about your situation. I do all the time. I'm probably more than all of you. I want their knowledge, but they don't have all the knowledge. They don't know how to read my energy most of the time. They don't really know where things are coming from. But if something is on a medical level, then they have that, and they can help me with that. But I can't let them be the all in all in the diagnosis. That's why we've done our best. I don't think we've got it over enough, but this is why people need to be trained more in energy type work and diagnosis. If more people would step up and learn how to read energy of people and chakras and that information and misinformation, we could do much more to realign humanity back into the full frequencies. So from the crystal comes coded sounds, colors, forms, and beings. This is why meditation sometimes ends up in visualization, and you start getting images. You start seeing things and getting images because you're tapping into the images that are emanating out of the spin of core. And we will at some point talk in the difference. The Palladians have given us a little bit different chakra system than the one we teach in 3D. So the chakras are going to take on a little different. We are most alert mentally. Our brain waves are at the beta range of 40 hertz, which is the same as the frequency of Earth core. All of you should make sure you got a tuning fork. Gives you 40 hertz. 40 hertz tunes to the 40 frequency, helps us in the access of records of memory, records of all species and systems encoded in the hexagonal iron crystals. In other words, the Akashic Records. So the Akashic Records are, according to some people, are in the core of the pyramids, for instance. Casey and other people like that, whatever. Okay, so I'll take a deep breath. This is all recorded. You can re-listen to it if you would like, because when you record and listen to me, you can stop me anytime, for as long as you want. I cannot imagine you all getting all of this in one setting. Don't even think you can. But you get what you get, right? And what you get consciously is because you were ready to receive it. What you didn't get doesn't mean you should reject it, but it means you're just not maybe at the place to receive it at this time, and you need to revisit it and have a epiphany, have a moment in which it all comes to you in that way. I do want to say in closing that I'm struggling. I don't know that I would have chosen myself, me, David, to go this deeply into this, because it's taken a lot of my energy and time to plow through this, because there's so much information. And let me say to you that are having any issues with this, have you taken the time just to go to your computer and put in, if you don't understand 5D, put it in. There's many ways to understand, not just one way to understand this. You can understand it from a more scientific way. You can understand it from a more spiritual, mystical way. You can understand it through Hindu teaching. I mean, this is, and throughout all of these teachings is about these dimensions. The Hindus taught it. Buddhists taught it. They all taught it. Native Americans taught it. But there's videos that shows you and illustrates 5D, 3D, 2D. I mean, take the time to do your own stuff. I can't do it all for you. I'm running as fast as I can. Let us take a moment. Today we turn this information over to the higher altar of our being and of our self called the Holy Spirit. That is the universal Christ consciousness. It knows all things, even before we are conscious of them. It guides us, leads us, and helps us to remember much of what we have forgotten in the density of a third dimensional incarnation story. We ask today that we leave here a little differently than the way we came, as we've opened up more of our consciousness to receive more from the dimensions that are being opened to us today. We ask this in the loving name of the Christ presence, and so it is. I want to thank you that have joined us also online, and I want to say to all of us that's here, it is important that you continue to support this class. Support the class. And thank you for you that are doing it on a monthly basis. I so appreciate you that are doing that, but each one of us needs to make sure that we keep this class open by supporting it, and I really appreciate it. And that's to you that are also, if you're still with us, you can also do that online through credit card or through PayPal, or you can send it right here to 7300 Mallard Creek Road in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's 28262. We appreciate your support. Thank you so much for coming. Sunday we'll see you that are here on the 11 o'clock service. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you. 11:15, that's right. I have copies of Jackie's list about the 2222 here.
Such a good list, Jackie.
How many of you did it yesterday? How many was meditating at 2 o'clock? Very good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. We stopped at Some Energetics and did the 20-minute. I don't have a basket over here, so... Oh, got it. Yes, we do. Anyway, there's copies here. The closing invocations that she gave so beautifully. Thank you, Jackie, so much for your message Sunday to us and making us aware of the importance. In fact, it's inspired maybe my message for Sunday, and it's about riding through the gate. Coming through the gate. Yeah. So I'm going to just lay these right here on the table. If you want one and review them, please do so.